children as an important part of their national response to COVID-19. Now, last April, the UN also called on governments to provide comprehensive solutions to employment problems at the start of the pandemic. Will the Philippine government adhere to these calls? We discuss in this episode of the Chiefs.
Si Gwen Garcia.
Si Gwen Garcia, yung tuog sa Cebu. Di ba? Eh, noong isang araw lang, we were talking about her with DILG, di ba, the other day. Kasi controversial din siya. A couple of weeks back, she refused to wear a face mask dahil nahihirapan daw siya huminga. Di ba?
It works now for them.
Yeah, but in the meantime, the big context there, of course, beyond the personalities, is Cebu is still facing the rising numbers of COVID. So yan talaga isang minamatsagan ngayon ng gobyerno.
Yeah, and again, Roy Simato, the Environment Secretary, takes charge of something beyond the environment.
Gusto ko yung ginawa niya siguro sa Boracay. Kaya gano'n.
Well, hindi lang Boracay, dinideploy rin siya sa Middle East, at kung saan-saan.
Handyman.
Oh, but yun nga lang, what does it say about the IATF and the other government agencies and the NTF?
For sure. Siya yung may consensus building siya. Kaya mas maganda yung kanyang
Is that his forte?
Mas maganda yung kanyang pag-i-enforce na voluntary yung enforcement. Meron siyang
may ganun siya.
Carino yan
Voluntary compulsory.
May Carino siya kahit nagpapadala ng dagdag na pulis doon. Hindi naman hindi siya hard sell nung niya. Nung kanyang magaling siyang mag-reason out.
Uri naman.
Pero si NCRPO Chief Tibonsinas, magaling na mag-reason out.
Hindi lang tayo.
Hindi. Magaling siya magaling siya makipag-usap. Kaya talaga, mga malisyoso kasi kayo. Let's bring in our guest for tonight. Actually, we have, I think, 3 guests tonight. So let's bring in our first one. Joining us tonight is Undersecretary Benjo Benavides of the Department of Labor and Employment. Of course, we will be talking about the effect of COVID-19 on our labor force. Sir, Yusek, good evening and thank you for joining us.
Good evening po.
Gandang gabi, sir.
Hi, sir. Sir Ed, Ma'am Lucy, Ma'am Ami,
Good evening,
as well as Sir Robin.
Hi.
Good evening.
Sir, if I may just, can we at least lay the baseline first? Kasi we've had some data that was released to us several weeks ago. We'd like to see lang kung may updates. Kasi earlier we were told na mga 7.3 million na po yung nawalan ng trabaho. That's according to PSA. Tapos the DOLE earlier said that we expect another 4 million to lose their jobs before the year end. So that's a total of mga 11.3 million. We're wondering lang, with many areas now under GCQ, are we updating these numbers? Are we looking at a better situation as far as employment is concerned? Or ganun pa rin na 11.3 million by year end na wala trabaho?
Well, sir, we continue to monitor job displacement since the early start of the year in view of the Taal eruption. But then again, sir, with respect to, it's true that the PCA issued the survey where there is a 7.3 million unemployed. But then it is just based on survey. What we have in the department is actually the actual number of job displacement, because under the law, employers are required to report termination of employment. And it's based on our data. We just have a temporary or rather permanent closure or displacement in the number of 90,000 workers. This involved 3,100 establishments. But we are projecting that this will increase in the coming months. Madam, sir, since based on our reports coming from the regions, there are already 3,118 establishments reporting permanent displacements. So
Okay.
this is
Sir,
about 90,000 workers. This is based on
sir,
our actual report. Now,
ano yung
how do
distribution
we
of the 3,000 closures? Ano yung distribution po nung companies na yun?
Well, most of these companies are coming from the administrative and support services as well as food and accommodation.
Okay.
When we say displacement report, these are permanent displacement. This
Okay.
is separate from the data that we reported way back in March with respect to temporary closure. We are now establishment are now deciding to permanently close, and
Okay.
in the next coming months, we are expecting another batch of displaced workers. And in this morning in the hearing, the secretary made mention that we are expecting 4 million workers to be displaced by the end of the year.
Okay, you
Sorry,
referred to, I think you referred to a couple of sectors. But what about geographically? Are there any particular regions or areas that are particularly hit?
Well, the region that is badly hit is of course there's employment creation. We can also cite the Calabarzon, but it's actually in the NCR. It's just the most number of this
We seem to be having
worker.
problems with audio. Yeah.
Oo. Sir, can you hear us? Yusek, nawawala siya eh.
Actually,
Sir?
malaki
My
ating
audio
delay.
clear? I can hear you.
Yes, sir. But I think you're getting delayed significantly. So ang laki ng lag eh. Sir, just to recap, well, you were saying 90,000 workers were actually laid off, with 3,000 establishments closed. But you're looking at 4 million total by sir for the whole year, by the year end.
Yeah,
4 million,
by the end of the year.
or additional 4 million. Are we talking about cumulative or an additional 4 million?
It's cumulative actually. Now,
So total yun.
yes. Sir, let me reconcile our data with that of the PCA survey.
Oo nga.
The PSA, yes, sir.
Because based on the PSA survey, already include those workers who were already unemployed prior
Yes.
to the pandemic.
Yeah.
So we have I think 3 million workers.
Yeah, from
Then
January.
adding 4 million more because of temporary closure. I think that's how we explained with respect to this data, sir and ma'am.
So you're looking at, sir, total of 4 million. That's
Yes, by the end of the year.
That's very, very far from the earlier estimates given by some economists at double-digit unemployment by year end. So parang ang layo po ng in-expect nila.
In percentage, yata,
Attention.
17%.
We'll see by the end of
Talagang mabagal yung kanyang...
I think we're gonna
that's 17%.
Oo.
Kung marinig.
Yusek, naririnig niyo po kami?
Yeah, you're clear in
Yeah, Yusek, how about underemployment? Is that the DOLE also undertaking studies on underemployment during the pandemic? Meron bang figures na gano'n?
Yes,
Mga
ma'am.
ilan na kaya siya? Ano
Yeah.
yung percentage lang?
Well, we
Talagang masama yung audio niya.
Okay, reset.
Wala.
Okay, we'll try to get Yusek Benavides back in a bit. Siguro let's recap lang what we heard from Yusek Benavides.
Medyo nga yung...
Well, one of the things he said was sectors-wise, administrative, support services, manufacturing,
Food.
Food accommodations.
Food, most.
Diba?
tourism.
Mm.
Hotel. So,
And then in terms of geographic locations, NCR is not a surprise, but Calabarzon, he mentioned he didn't quite delve and dive deep into which particular regions, but Calabarzon was definitely worth a mention for him. And again, not a surprise. Manufacturing, tsaka maraming mga export
Export
processing
zone siya.
zones doon sa Calabarzon.
export zone. Sa Manila, yung mga
Tapos mukhang
accommodation
formal
services. Mm.
tsaka mukhang
Food and
formal workers to I mean I think the numbers he's citing are formal workers. Wala pa dito yung informal sector.
Yeah.
Nakabalik na yata si Yusek. Tingnan uli natin. Hi, Yusek. Hi, Yusek.
Hi, sir.
Yes, ma'am. I'm nan.
Hi. Talagang mahina yung audio. Mahina pa rin yung audio.
Sir, sir, can you speak, sir? Can we hear you?
Mahina pa rin.
Sir, konti pong ano. Can you hear us, sir?
Hi, sir. Hi, ma'am.
Ayan.
Okay na. Okay, we were talking about underemployment, Yusek. Kung ano yung status ng underemployment.
Ikot.
Yes. Ano na po yung sa underemployment figures ninyo?
Prior to COVID, we had 5.6 million underemployed.
Yes.
And based on the latest PSA survey, it increased to 6.4
6.4.
underemployed person. So there's an increase of more than 1 million underemployed individuals.
Ah.
Yeah, that's understandable because more workers are needing more time for work or income.
Yeah.
So, sir,
In the meantime, sir,
anong plano ninyo, sir, dito sa mga nawalan na ng trabaho at mawawalan pa ng trabaho? Anong pinaplano ng DOLE?
Well, we have one fundamental response to that is, of course, to get everything to normal, and that is giving them work. So that's why we are easing the lockdown so that economic activity will resume. But then again, we cannot dispute the fact that there will be many who will not get jobs in the near future.
Yes,
And that's where our social protection program comes in.
yes. Ano
The department will also,
yes.
Okay.
the department also provides
And help na pwedeng ibigay immediately.
Well, of course, ma'am, they can avail of the unemployment insurance benefits. That's a financial assistance for 2 months. And for the informal sector workers, we do provide emergency employment. This is what we call as the TUPAD, tulong panghanap buhay para sa disadvantaged worker. These are emergency employment.
Ano po yung emergency employment?
Well, this is a program where government provides work to displaced worker. So pwede po silang tumulong sa paglilinis. They can also be hired by local government units.
May suggestion si Senator.
During the pandemic, we implemented emergency employment.
Okay. Yung pong build, at saka lahat po ng mga government project. Ang suggestion ni Senator Ontiveros ay mag-hire na lang ng imbes na kumuha pa ng mga foreign workers. Kasi napag-isipan din na dapat baka pwedeng payagan ng bumalik yung mga foreign workers na natenga rito for a while sa COVID at pinayag Pero ang sabi ni Senator Risa, hindi ba dapat nga i-prioritize ang mga Pilipino?
Delay ulit.
Ma'am Lucy, this actually in Arizona at the Department of Labor and Employment. We hire more workers rather than mechanizing construction projects. This wise, we will be able to hire more workers, more warm bodies. We are looking into actually the data of hiring the
Mm.
employment of foreign nationals.
Masama yung
Okay.
kanyang
Okay. Yeah, I think
medyo
the
masama
connection is
yung
really bad.
connection talaga.
Sir, we'll try to get Yusek Benjo Benavides back maybe in some other episode later on when we have a much better connection. So we'll have to cut the interview short kasi hindi magkaintindihan, sayang lang naman yung pagkakataon. Tsaka sayang din ng oras ni Yusek Benavides. So maraming salamat po kay Dole Undersecretary for Labor Relations and Social Protection, Yusek Benjo Benavides. Thank you for joining us. We will just go into a break, so please stay with us. Sakit sa tenga, wala ko intindihan masyado.
Welcome back to Chiefs here on One News. Now joining us is Undersecretary Rene Glenn Pahe of the Department of Social Welfare and Development. Yusek Pahe, welcome po to the Chiefs.
good evening.
Good evening, ma'am. Good evening, sirs. And
Good evening, sir.
good evening to our viewers.
Yusek, kanina lang po binabasa ko yung balita that we're preparing for a second round and a second tranche of assistance and social amelioration program for people. Bago po tayo magpunta doon, kamusta po ba muna yung current and the first tranche ng ating mga assistance sa ating mga kababayan?
Yung first trans po, medyo malapit na tayo sa, or halos natapos na po tayo. Actually, around 99.8 billion pesos has already been distributed to around 17.65 million beneficiaries. This is for the first tranche, of course. In addition to this, more than 785 million pesos were distributed to around 98,000 transport network vehicle and public mobility vehicle drivers in the National Capital Region. So also among the local government units, they have distributed aid to around 13.31 million low-income non-pantawid pamilyang Filipino program or non-4Ps families amounting to around 80.6 million. So yun na rin po ang ating status. All in all, around 1,545 out of 1,634 LGUs have achieved 100% completion rate in the distribution of the SAP for the first tranche.
Okay. Now, Yusek, what would you say was the biggest lesson sa distribution ng first tranche and at the same time, what assurance do we have that those the birthing pains for that program will have been addressed by the time we start rolling out for the second tranche?
For the first tranche, we have to admit that there had been some challenges, a lot of challenges, since we are implementing this magnitude of aid to a lot of people, to 18 million people. So there have been challenges, and we have learned from these challenges na kita na rin po natin yung mga naging problema, and we are applying solutions so that this will no longer happen in the second tranche. In fact, we have explored other means like the digital payment platforms. We have launched yung Relief Agad so that beneficiaries can register direct to the DSWD data bank and lessen procedures for encoding and other validation requirements. So lahat po yan ay magsasama-sama, and we expect faster and more efficient distribution of aid for the second tranche.
Okay. So bottom line po, when you say faster, gaano kabilis po ngayon ang distribution ng second tranche? Ano pong pwedeng asahan ng ating mga kababayan?
Unang-una po, yung sa mga 4Ps, dahil medyo maayos na yung mga records niyan, so we were able to download around 6.7 billion to 1.3 million beneficiaries. Madali lang po yun. In less than a week's time, they were able to get their emergency subsidies. And once na maayos na po natin lahat ng sistema, mas mabilis din po makakarating doon sa mga non-4Ps at saka doon sa mga waitlisted beneficiaries natin. We have started this in Cordillera Autonomous Region, in some areas in Pampanga, and kasunod na po yung mga ibang regions na naging maayos or naiayos na yung mga validation and liquidation processes.
General, if I may, General, konti paglilinaw lang po dun sa numbers kasi hanggang ngayon po nagugulan ako dun sa numbers na talagang target natin for the second tranche po, second tranche. Kasi yung first tranche po, 18 million yon na merong mga 4.4 million na 4Ps, tapos mga 13.6 million na non-4Ps. Ito pong second tranche, ano po mga numbers ang ating titingnan na beneficiaries? Finally, kasi iba-iba po narinig namin from iba-ibang mga opisyal. Merong 5 million, may 4.2 million, merong 12 million. So finally po, ano ho yung total talaga natin for the second month?
For the second tranche, around 13.5 million na families po ang in-expect natin makatanggap kaagad ng aid.
13.5.
Pardon me, sir?
13.5 po. Opo, tama. 13.5. Go ahead po. 13.5 million.
Yes, kasama na po dito yung naiulat natin, yung 5 million from the waited list, and those that will come from the areas declared or still under ECQ. Ito po yung mga areas na under sa Executive Order 112 and doon sa memorandum ni Executive Secretary.
Yun naman po. So 13.5 million, kasama na po dyan yung 5 million na bago, tapos mga 8.5 million siguro na nasa ECQ pa. Tama ho ba?
Tama po. There will definitely magkakaroon pa po ito ng adjustment as the data come up, kasi po yung mga ibang LGUs are still coming up with their validated lists.
So yun na po yun. Sarado na po ang tindahan doon. 13.5 million. Malayo po yun doon sa 18 million na first month natin eh. So yun na po. Yung 4Ps po, hindi pa kasama dito?
I think kasama na po. Kasi yung iba po dyan, ang madadagdag pa are the waitlisted na hindi po nabigyan ng ayuda noong first tranche. So some beneficiaries will have double na matatanggap ngayon po dahil yung sa first trans, and if they're still under ECQ sa second trans, then they are entitled to the same amount of benefits.
Yusek, puntahan ko lang yung isa pang problema that has emerged during the pandemic. Dumadami daw yung mga cases of domestic violence, yung sexual exploitation of children. Ano bang capability ng DSWD to provide assistance to victims of this abuse?
Ang services po ng DSWD dyan is they provide psychosocial interventions. We have these services ng ating social workers po. They conduct yung needs assessment so that they can determine kung anong intervention ang kakailanganin. May mga centers po tayo na open na pwedeng pagkonsultahan ng mga victims po nito.
May record ba kayo kung ilan na yung natulungan ng DSWD o nadala sa mga centers na ito? Mga bata, mga babae, battered women, and maybe baka lalaki. Meron bang
I'm sorry, hindi ko po, wala po sa akin yung data ngayon, but based on what I can recall is there have been around 733 gender-based violence cases that have been recorded. Sa Philippine Commission on Women, I think there are also 133 cases as of late May. So hindi ko pa po, as of now, wala po sa akin yung records, but I can look that up tomorrow if you still need the data.
Kumusta po yung services na usually nare-render sa mga ganitong victims ng sexual abuse domestically? Gayong may quarantine ngayon at hindi kayo, I'm sure you're also hampered, no? Yung social workers niyo. So, how
Ma'am, excuse me ma'am, sorry, medyo choppy po yung dating, hindi ko po naintindihan yung
kumusta po yung services niyo, yung delivery of services to victims of domestic abuse? Ganong, I'm sure, hampered po kayo ng quarantine.
Tama po, we have limited personnel to attend to all the services that are supposed to be delivered by DSWD. More than that, yung limited mobility and limited access po natin sa mga dapat mabigyan ng tulong because of the health issues, because of the COVID and the ECQ limitations that we are experiencing. Ganun pa man po, our personnel in the DSWD are very committed at in fact, dahil po sa kanilang mga commitment, may mga issues na rin po, may mga kawani na po tayo na na-infect ng COVID. I think around 19 of them, and several hundreds have also been forced to go on self-quarantine just to make sure. So yan po yung limitations natin actually.
So, lalo,
Sir, may iba na,
sige.
dahil, on another topic na po, because over the past few days, parang lumalaki po itong problem na to. Yung locally stranded individuals, yung mga nasa strand po sa syudad, what is the DSWD doing? Kasi kahapon kausap namin ng DILG, it seems to still be on the level of, well, kakausapin namin and we'll talk to different agencies and so on. Sa parte po ng DSWD, malinaw po ba ang pwedeng gawin para matulungan ng mga itong mga locally stranded individuals?
Tama po. Ang case po ng locally stranded individuals ay hinaharap po ng task force or a task group in the interagency task force. At this is led by DILG, but DSWD is one of the member agencies dito. For our part, ang DSWD po provides also psychosocial intervention and needs assessment. At meron din pong binibigay tayo na tulong katulad ng sa hygiene kits, family food packs, sanitation kits, and other similar items para naman po medyo ma-alleviate yung conditions ng mga stranded individuals natin. Kailangan, meron din po tayong naibibigay sa mga LSIs natin kung sila ay under yung atin pong assistance to individuals in crisis situation. So they can avail of that. At marami na rin po tayong natulungan. Around I think 1,000 plus LSIs have already availed of this DSWD program.
Kasama din ba kayo, sir, sa contact tracing? You mentioned na yung iba niyong tao na-infect na ng COVID. Are you also being tapped for contact tracing purposes?
Rarely po, ma'am, sapagkat hindi yun po ang aming competence. That's not within our line of work. But what I was trying to tell you a while ago is that some of our frontliners have been infected with COVID. Work-related po ito dahil sila yung mga humaharap sa mga tao, sa mga sa public. So I think doon nila nakuha ito.
Yusek, yung Department of Foreign Affairs, yung budget nila ay medyo bawas na dahil sa kaka-repatriate nga nila ng mga OFWs. Matanong ko lang kayo, kumusta ang budget ninyo ngayon? Dahil grabe na talaga yung nangyayaring realignment ng mga budget dahil sa COVID. How are you doing, the department itself?
Ganon din po, like most of the agencies, we were affected by the memorandum circular. I think yung 580 doon sa memo ng DBM. At so far we are managing. Wala po ako sa hindi po under sa akin yung budget, but what I know is we're managing. At karamihan naman po ng aming budget is para sa grants. Yung administrative costs po ay yun ang medyo nahihirapan din tayo.
Yes. Right.
Okay.
Yung budget po nyo, ang House of Representatives ang ang magde-deliberate. And recently, they berated the USEX, yung mga undersecretaries ng department, hindi naman daw yung secretary. Ano pong masasabi nyo doon?
Ma'am, pakiulit po yung medyo hindi ko naintindihan.
May criticism yung mga membro ng Congress na kasi sila magde-deliberate ng budget nga Pero mukhang hindi sila maligaya sa performance nga daw nung mga lower executives ng departamento nyo. Ano pong masasabi ninyo doon?
Meron naman pong ginawa silang inquiry and I think they are entitled to their opinion, but what I can say is hindi po nagpapahinga ang DSWD, hindi po nagpapahinga yung mga kawani ng DSWD, and we do our best to deliver the services that are due our public, our clientele. I think they are entitled to their opinion, and then siguro give us time to evaluate matters. In the end, makikita naman po natin kung ano talaga yung nangyari or kung ano talaga yung performance.
Okay, Yusek, pasensya na po pero papahirapin pa natin lalo yung trabaho nyo. Alam naman natin mahirap na yan. But dineclare na rin ng Pag-asa a couple of weeks ago, official start of the rainy season. Ramdam na po natin yan. Paano po yan? Pagka bumubuhos ng ulan, alam naman natin yung mga kaakibat na problema niyan. How will the DSWD be able to cope with all of the seasonal things that we're expecting, the annual things that we anticipate on top of everything na nangyayari pa sa COVID?
Ang mga field offices po natin ay meron namang mga naka-stockpile ng relief goods, and they have personnel trained to deal with these emergencies. So yan na po yung ating naging, if I may use the term, bread and butter na nila yan. So they are ready, our field offices are ready. More than that, yung mga LGUs po natin who are the first responders, sila naman po ay nakahanda rin, at DSWD is not alone in giving this aid, this relief to our people in times of emergency. So yun po ang
Yusek, alam nyo yung donor fatigue, yan ang sinasabi nila na maaaring maging malaking problema sa nalalabi pang 6 na buwan ng taon, lalo na pag dumating yung mga bagyo at wag naman sana, but other calamities. What are you thinking of now in terms of compensating for what will likely be a case of donor fatigue eventually?
Sa ngayon po, siyempre we rely on the funding from the government that has been allocated. Yung donations na naman po, inaasahan natin, ipina-factor in po natin yan, but we are not totally dependent on that. And we are aware that donor fatigue may set in. But just like our past experiences, I'm sure hindi naman po ito natutuyuan, and we find means to get the resources so that we can support whatever help that we can deliver to our constituents.
All right.
Okay. Undersecretary Rene Glenn Pahe of the Department of Social Welfare and Development, maraming salamat po.
Thank you po.
And please stay with us. The Chiefs will be right back.
Sino na?
30. Ma'am, Ami, 30 seconds po.